Now we've got some examples. We're going to simplify or reduce the following. Factor first, cancel second. You need to remember that when you're asked to simplify or reduce. So in this first one, I've got a monomial over a monomial, so I go and cancel what I can. This is sort of similar to some of the problems we saw earlier. 99, I know 9 and 11 will go into that. Negative 72, I know 9 will go into that. So that'll be the first thing I'll do, is take care of the numbers. So let me move it just a little bit. So 9 will go into 99 11 times, and 9 will go into negative 72 a negative 8 times. Barely see it because I don't want you to see the next part. My a's, well, I've got a to the first over a cubed. A cubed outnumbers, so I'm going to end up with a squared on the bottom. My b's, notice who outnumbers who and by how many. I'm going to end up with b to the third on top, and there's nobody with c, so c stays. So let's see. There's my b cubed c in the numerator and my a squared in the denominator. No more like factors. That's my final answer. Now this one's sort of sneaky. First thing I would suggest is write them in the same order. So I see x and y, so I'm going to turn this one around and have a negative x plus y. Now do you remember back when we were factoring? Stop that. If you have a lead-off negative, pull out that negative 1. Well, let's do that and see what happens. Something nice happens. Now when you have a binomial, the binomials must look exactly alike. So these are going to cancel. I'll have a 1 on top, a negative 1 on the bottom. Come on over. So 1 over negative 1 gives me negative 1. These problems are called factors that differ in sign only, but the easiest way to see them is write them in the same order, pull out a negative 1, and then see if your parentheses match. Now this one, let's see. I've got myself a trinomial and a trinomial, but I do not have a square like I do over here. So I pull out a common monomial. If I pull out a negative 7 on top, I'm going to have an x minus 4y plus 2z. Let's see if I did that on top. Okay. On the bottom, I can pull out a 7, and I'll have a 2x minus y plus z. These parentheses do not match. They're not getting canceled, but I do see this right here. So 7 will go into negative 7 and negative 1 time. So you can leave your answer like that, or you can distribute a negative 1 through if you want. But, you know, if you've done enough factoring, then this will be sufficient right here. Now we got to go factor these. They are factorable. They, 99 out of 100 times, they're not going to give you problems if they can't be factored. So you've got to factor first, cancel second. So the top one does factor, as does the bottom. You need to go see if you can factor the numerator and see if you can factor the denominator. So you need to pause me. I'm going to keep going, but they are factorable. So the numerator factors as 5x minus y over x minus y, and the bottom factors as 4x plus y times x minus y. Okay? Notice the parentheses. Also remember, parentheses must match in order to cancel out. So my final answer here is what I have left over. And that's my answer. I'd keep them in parentheses. Maybe that'll keep you from trying to, cancel those, because you can't. The parentheses must match. So that's reducing fractions. The next part, they want us to perform the following operations and simplify when necessary. I've got multiplication, I see division, so let's get going. I've got a monomial over a monomial times a monomial over a monomial. This is where you go and just have a real good time. Remember, you can cancel like factors. So I know 24 and 16 have a number in common, as does 15 and 25. So get those first, like we saw earlier, and then go after your a's. You'll notice I've got an a here and an a cubed here, so it means I should have an a squared. The b's, this one down here outnumbers, so I should have a b squared down here. Looks like the c's take each other out, and the d's look like they should end up on the bottom. So let's see how much fun I had. So I did my numbers first, then my variables. Now we multiply straight across. I'm going to have 9a squared on top, 10b squared d squared on the bottom. Okay? This one, I would first go and put these little fellas in parentheses. Because if you've got more than a monomial, you need to have parentheses to see if you're allowed to cancel them out. Now, this might look like you could, but they're not exactly the same thing, so keep your hands off. But these, I can. So the 4x plus 3's do cancel. I'm left with x plus 7 over x minus 7. Leave them in parentheses. Technically, you don't have to, but I found that if you'll do that, you're less likely to do things you shouldn't do. Now, got multiplication here. So I need to go factor first. A lot of factoring. On our test, we had, maybe about 6, 7 problems, but here I've got 4 problems in one. So go factor and see if you come up with the following. So you need to stop me. Practice your factoring. Because once you factor, then you can have a good time. Looks like the x plus 3 should go. The 3x plus 1 should go. But those that are not canceled out remain, and you leave them as is. Do not FOIL, you don't need to. Leave the factors. Now, division. Do you remember we've got to flip this one and then multiply? It might also be easier if you put this over 1. And technically it doesn't need a parentheses on it. Now, that looks sort of like problem number, what was this one, 13? They're monomials. Cancel what you can. So you do that. See what you can do. Pause me because I'm going to go ahead. I know the 7 and the 21 will go. I'll have a 3 on top, an a on top, a b squared on top. All I have on the bottom is 1, so my answer should be 3ab squared c squared. And there it is. Got a couple more. Division, flip, and multiply. That's your first job. Second job, factor. These are differences of perfect squares, so go factor those and see if you end up with what I've got underneath this box. Next job, cancel what you can. X plus 7's go, 4y plus 3's go, so it looks like I should have an x minus 7 and a 4y minus 3, but I do like canceling. And there it is. Do not FOIL it. You don't have to. You go try this problem. Pause me. I'm going to keep on going. First, I'm going to flip it, the one I'm dividing by. Put in parentheses because now I've got to go factor. Looks like a 5 will come out of this one. A 6 comes out of that one. An 8 comes out of this one. And a 5 comes out of that one. So I factor first. Now, let's see what can go. Oh, the x plus 3y's go. 5's will go. And a 2 will go into the 6 and the 8. So what am I left with? 4 times that parentheses and 3 times that one. And that's my final answer. So you got some problems to do. So as you've noticed, a lot of factoring you have to do. Bye-bye.